Here we are in Pucallpa, Peru, and I'm here with the man, Casey Honaker, a good friend of mine, a humanitarian, a business owner, and a magician, as I like to call him.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's going to be a little difficult, I believe, to live up to, but I'll do what I can. Let's see. Been down here in the jungle for about 10 years now, working with ayahuasca, various plant medicines, with the community, with the local cultures, and just figuring it all out in this edge of the world here.
Yeah, right. But tell me something. So, what actually brought you down to Peru, of all places, out here in the jungle?
Well, it was the rumors of ayahuasca and what it had to bring to consciousness and consciousness expansion within humanity. And once I experienced that myself, I realized it was an amazing opportunity for humanity. And I wanted to create a space in which that would be more available, accessible, would be able to be more accommodating to the Western culture to come down here and utilize.
Sure.
And
Sure,
just-
because I mean, your first experience wasn't very accommodating at all.
No, not at all. There could have been some things, improved, and so working on that over the years has
Yeah.
really manifested it here in this location.
Yeah, I mean, how long you been here in this location for now?
Just over 4 years at this
Right,
location.
you were at a previous location
Mhm.
before that.
Yeah, a bit across the lake from here, but
Right,
convenience factor at this location is just amazing.
right. And how do you think over the years that people have really taken to the ayahuasca? Is it something that you feel like it's flourished, or
The dynamic seems to have changed quite a bit over the years. There was a time where it seemed to be quite something that people hadn't heard about. It was just
Right.
like on the fringe, the outskirts, and then it became more, as you might say, mainstream, more popular.
Sure.
Everybody had heard about it to some extent. And so they were searching it out in places like this here in Peru, and where it's from, and to experience it in its birthplace. And I believe that the dynamic has changed a bit over the years, and now that it's more widely available, people
Right.
are experiencing it in their own homes and in groups and other facilitated
Right.
situations.
Right. Have you had the experience of having it elsewhere out of its original birthplace?
I actually have, yes,
Yeah.
back in Arizona where I'm from.
Do you think the experience is any different at all?
It does seem to be different. It does take you to a common place, but it incorporates a lot of the elements from the environment that you are doing the ceremony within.
Right, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we actually use the vine here, I mean, I'm sure that has a lot to do with the fact that, the experience, as opposed to where back home where I'm from in Australia, I mean, they use the local plants and extract the DMT from that. So, I haven't had the experience to do it over there, but I'm sure it's quite a different... I mean, it's still
Yeah.
Mother Earth at the end of the day, right?
It is. I mean, we're turning into that frequency that's all around us in nature, and
Right.
if we just quiet ourselves internally, then it'll permeate us no matter what environment we're in.
Right.
But speaking to that a little bit too about the vine and doing it in the location or experiencing in the location where it's from, it seems to incorporate a lot of those natural elements from the environment in which it's grown, no matter where you partake of it in the world. So if you were to take the vine outside of this location, a lot of the themes that are very prevalent or spoken of would appear in those locations.
Yeah, it would also. So if we take it out of the jungle, we'd still have an experience that is perhaps quite with the jungle spirits and whatnot. And
I
so
would
it's,
say so.
Yeah.
A bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had a vine, let's say, grown in Hawaii, it would
Right.
probably incorporate a lot more of those elements of the islands.
In the ocean and whatnot. Which makes total sense to me. Right. But I mean, really, the thing is that intrigues me about you is what inspires you and what drives you. I mean, look, why would you come out here? Because, I mean, this is a pretty harsh environment, really. It's beautiful and
Yeah.
all of that, but,
I mean, it's where I'm from, and I guess Western culture in general, no matter where in the world you might be within that, is quite stagnant from my perspective within it. And that complacency, that stagnation that is quite prevalent along the population is just stifling. It's suffocating for me. I would been exploring all kinds of ways throughout my life how to get people back on board with, let's see, independence in every aspect of their lives, with their spirituality, with their energy sources, with their food production. Everything about that it speaks of freeing up the individual no matter where they might be. And that's something that you can see with a lot of the original cultures back where they're from. And so these are the ones that are really holding on to that lifestyle of living in harmony with nature. And we have a lot to gain from them and learn from that experience, and helping to preserve their cultures as well.
Right, of course. But I guess the main thing that I really want to know about you is what inspires you and what actually has brought you to this point. Was it your upbringing? Was it the way, you know?
That's an
family,
interesting question. It's I've always felt like driven to create more freedom within my own life and
Right, but
every
this is
aspect.
the thing. Why? Why have you been driven to? Because most people are not driven to this.
Yeah, that's
Right.
curious. I'm not sure why people don't think like I do. It's always kind of baffled me.
But you know, that's the thing. I mean, generally, things that happen throughout our childhood shape us in our adulthood, right?
Yeah, and I've always wanted to hold on to this perspective that everybody has the same sort of unique abilities or gifts within them given to them by the Creator. And so we all have opportunities to find our way back to that source.
I agree.
You know, all paths lead to God.
I agree. But you know,
So what was it about me uniquely that created that sort of drive? I don't know. I believe there's maybe not in a childhood sense, but maybe at some point in everyone's life they reach a point where they're just like looking for answers or a change or why are things the way they are.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, then again, like I look at my own life and I look at someone like my father. He doesn't have any of these ideas. He's completely ignorant, and he's quite happy in his own little bubble, and that's how he lives. Now, I feel like I've lived a life where, you know, I mean, my parents are very loving, they were wonderful, but they were very stuck in their own paradigm, you know, and I felt oppressed in a way, you know what I mean? I wasn't encouraged to do anything. I was encouraged to do what they thought was correct for me. So that is what actually pushed me through and made me realize, hang on, there's got to be more to life than what I'm being told or being shown. I grew up in the church. All of that. So that sort of inspired me to sort of push out and seek other things other than myself or other than what I was taught. But see, I suffered a massive depression, and that was when my awakening occurred. It was at that point, at my lowest point. I was working in the construction industry. I was going through a very hard time, very unhappy. I was trying to fulfill someone else's dream. You know, and much like many people, I was trying to prove to my father that I was worth something, you know, and that's sort of in my lowest part of my life, in the depths of my despair is where I came out here and found ayahuasca, and, you know, I'm not going to say I haven't looked back, but it's most definitely been the catalyst for me.
So what have you found with your experience with ayahuasca?
Well, ultimately, I mean, ayahuasca is a fantastic plant medicine. It's a master teacher. But ultimately, it's brought me back to myself. You know, no matter how many ceremonies or how many times I drink ayahuasca, it always comes down to me. And I ultimately am divine. And it's taken me a long time to figure this out. You know, maybe because I didn't want to see it. You know, because I was too busy playing the victim role my whole life. Life's too hard, oh God doesn't love me, and blah, 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 all this stuff. Now, through ayahuasca, I've learned the importance of self-empowerment and standing on your own 2 feet, and what that actually means for me as a human being. Realizing that I am divine, I am God, and I'm not the only one who's God, you're God too. And so is everybody else, and so are all of you. And we're all God, we're all extensions of the Creator. Therefore, are we not all God? I mean, it just makes complete sense. You know,
Children of God.
we are, of course. So, you know, I mean, ultimately, and where I stand with it now is that I'm really at a point now where I won't say the medicine is becoming obsolete, but it's definitely something that it's taught me so much about myself, but now I'm just going within, you know, and bringing and implementing these things that I've learnt.
Because you can do that. You have those skills. You know how to incorporate that in your life through maybe the awakening through ayahuasca.
Right.
Whereas, and you can share that with others too. And ultimately, is that really what's necessary? Is to go within and see these things? Do we need these plant teachers to show us that path? Apparently, in a lot of cases, it certainly helps. I
it's
know
not
that
completely necessary, but it is a great catalyst. Do you know what I mean? One of the most
just to shake people awake.
pretty much. I mean, because we are as a race, we are very unconscious. You know?
Oh, it's blaringly obvious everywhere.
So, you know, and the fact that I had that spark, and I knew that when I was in the depths of my despair, that I knew that something was wrong. Basically I was against the wall. It was either death or try something else. And then I heard about ayahuasca. I didn't even research it or anything. I was just like, yeah, sure. Anything right now.
Yeah, willing to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely, I did. And that's how I found you and found the center and, you know, and started from there. You know, it wasn't all easy, but I decided to make some... that was the point where I decided to take charge. And, you know, stop being the victim, stop being the passenger in life and start being the driver. And that was the biggest catalytic moment in my entire life. And that has changed everything.
I believe that the ayahuasca is a catalyst to changing those core belief systems and fears within us.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people don't have access to or don't know how to overcome, even with maybe, let's say, years of psychotherapy or self-analyzation. Right. It's just, or even these belief systems are so strong within people. It's like their core belief systems. And I believe that the plant spirits know best on how to really bring that around in people, more than I could ever try to convince anybody else.
Oh, absolutely. Because ultimately the experience that you have during the ceremony is yours. Only you know what you went through, you know?
Yeah. Tailor-made to the individual.
Exactly. You know, and that's the power within it. I mean, and I've recently gone through a Vipassana meditation, which is, you know, 10 days of complete silence. And that to me was the most powerful thing I've ever done. More so, I feel, than ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying this after many years of going through the whole ayahuasca trip and the plant medicines. But it was so powerful because it was just me. It was nothing else. I wasn't practicing anything else other than just sitting still and just focusing on my breath.
I'm very much looking forward to my Vipassana experience.
You'll really enjoy it. You really will. Why aren't most people open to changing their belief systems?
Because it's very threatening to them. They've invested so much of their life based on their core belief systems that for them to open up to new ideas would have to be fundamental changes and reanalysis of everything within their lives. And so therefore it's much easier for them to just stay in the safe zone, in the bubble. And so therefore they're going to feel very threatened when these new ideas come into place, like from their children even. Yeah. And so I've also found that to be an experience as well. It's like I'm very close with my parents on one hand, but I know that there's topics that I just wouldn't go to with them as well, which is a bit of a tragedy as well, because I would really like for them to, you know, experience or receive a lot of the benefits from the medicine work that we do down here. But also in a sense then too, I don't know, but I was going to speak of the impact that you can have down here in this sort of environment with being able to really help the community and such, much more so than where the society where I'm not from. That's much more closed-minded to...
Right. So you're saying that these, you know, the society here, the third world society, are more open to...
new ways of thinking
because why? Because they're actually down there and they don't have any other ways. They're desperate, perhaps. You think desperation breeds?
Or they're ready for it, I guess. But yeah, maybe there's the desperation.
Or maybe they don't have the conditioning like the Western world has.
Right, yeah.
You know, that's very much so. Like you just said, you know, we are conditioned from the very moment we are born.
We
so
have
really
access.
It's an unlearning.
Yeah, because we have access to the cures for all of mankind's ills within the health range, within the spiritual range, psychosocial, within providing for their own resources with food and water and housing. I mean, these are all answers that are available today. So how to get people on board with manifesting this in the now, that's the challenge. And I feel this is a much more successful environment to manifest.
Yeah.
So it's been a path of self-discovery, of course, on a personal level, which it has to be. And I'm just trying to share my experience with others as well and be like, look, I found some magic here. What does everybody else think of this? How does this benefit your lives? And so that's what excitement for me is here.
Yeah, right. In these kind of places. Because, yeah, I mean, I totally understand. If you were to bring out all your beliefs or whatever you found out into the Western world, it just wouldn't be openly received. I mean, like very much down here, you've created your own MMS program.
Mm-hmm.
So MMS, can you tell us?
Yeah, we've reached many thousands of people with the MMS program. People that don't have access to healthcare normally are more open to, like, look, I have tumors all through my body. I'm suffering from cancer, diabetes, lung infections, tuberculosis. There's all kinds of foodborne, waterborne illnesses rampant everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a variety of reasons for this. I mean, people used to be healthy down here, but the reality of the situation is here we are, the edge of the Amazon. It's being exploited. It's been going on for quite some time, and it seems like it's always ramping up in some ways. So there is fallout from all of that, and it results in immediate damage to the environment here. And the local population's trying to thrive in the ways that they used to be able to, but now the water's polluted, the land is dying from poisoning, the fish are polluted as well with mercury.
Right.
And so these things build up in the systems, and then people suffer ill health repercussions because of it. Lots of processed foods in the environment too. So I can come in with MMS and offer that to the community who are receptive to it, and once they experience the benefits of it, word spreads very quickly. And
Right.
the program has been very difficult to even keep up with this year past. We're reaching out to over 9 different villages along the river.
Right.
Many thousands of people have benefited from it. It's all documented cases.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's miracle stories all the time, which is a really great driving force for me and keeps me inspired.
Right.
That we are having a positive impact and relieving suffering in the world and promoting culture that is still in touch with the natural order of things.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us real quickly about MMS, what it does?
It works with the natural immune system that we already possess, but it gives it a really big boost. So that's why it's good with everything. It's like, well, your immune system is going to protect you from everything anyway, to the best of its ability.
Right.
So what we're doing here is we're just giving it better tools in order to process all those toxins and get rid of things flush them out of the body. And it works very quickly.
Right, and it's very inexpensive also.
Right, it's very inexpensive.
And you
It's
can find it
readily
in
everywhere
most
around the world.
hardware stores. So yeah, if you want to find out more about MMS, the Genesis 2...
Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing, that's an easy one to find online.
Yeah.
Also, there's thousands of YouTube testimonials, very specific for whatever ailments you might be experiencing.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to share because that's a very empowering aspect.
Absolutely.
All across the board, no matter what culture people are from, if they have good health and they're in a good space, they can be productive in their lives and they're going to share that with others.
Yeah, exactly. It spreads.
And so part of this process too down here is like, I want to purchase land. It's like everybody's dream, I want to own land in an exotic country somewhere. Like working through the legalities of it all has been quite a challenge, and it's amazing that things ever move forward in an environment like this, even with the existing structure in place. But so, this has been a process of self-discovery.
Right, so it's led you down a very different rabbit hole.
Yes, one I never expected. So I've become quite knowledgeable, at least in my own domain and my own resources and availability here, about legal processes, and really explored that to its end in all kinds of ways with realty and properties and public versus private,
Right.
and what is real money and things of this nature. And it's been one of the most empowering sort of discoveries and paths I've ever gone.
Right, so I mean really you are truly on your way to freedom, to your own sovereignty,
Yeah,
claiming back.
or claiming back what we all should.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. And I mean, just by, and knowing your rights as a human being, I mean the basic human rights, which none of us actually know, in all honesty. We don't have a single idea.
I know how to stand on those rights, really, because a lot of people are like, oh, I have these rights, but if you look through the paperwork and how they've signed hidden contracts or through silent consent or something of this nature, through some sort of manipulation within this,
Right.
they don't realize where they stand on their rights. A lot of times they've consensually given up their rights without really knowing about it.
Of course.
And then they think that they have these rights and they'll get very upset about the fact that when they discover they don't. But really, when you start analyzing laws and you look through, you're like, oh, it's because you sidestepped all those at one point in time. You need to go back to it again.
Right. I mean, it's all a trap.
It is.
Really.
Yeah.
Completely. They're
hiding knowledge so you can control people.
right. I mean, they're
But it's
pretending
all
that
right
they're
there.
giving us rights, but they're telling us what.
You can have these rights. You
Yeah.
really have a lot more than that.
But here you go. Take them. And what do? As humans, we don't really know what we're doing, so we just, okay, we'll just eat
Oh,
them.
those sound so good. We'll
Yeah,
take
thank
those.
you.
Oh, we're going to take this one away. Ooh, we're going to take that one away. Oh, we're so mad.
Right.
But they can't do that anyway. It's fundamentally incorrect.
Right. I mean, for me, the biggest thing that actually woke me up at one point was this whole taxation thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I actually found out that there is no law that says that we have to actually legally pay tax.
Well,
Now that
you
just
don't unless
Cracked
you
open
are
whole
a
new
citizen.
frontier.
A lot of times they'll fool people into words of art, like confusing terms. Like
Right.
in America, they think, are you an American or are you a U.S. citizen?
Mhm.
Or are they both the same? They're not. They're dramatically different. So if you are a U.S. citizen, yes, you can be taxed all day long. But you can also be an American, and therefore you don't have to be taxed.
Right.
And so that's just hidden behind the scenes. It's called words of art. And once people can see through that, it's amazingly how empowered they might feel or become within community change. And then they can really, move forward with the blockages that they see in society.
Right, right. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, look, it's not sound corny or whatever, but if you want to change, most people want to get out there and do something, right? They want to change the world in, however they can. But ultimately, if you don't change yourself,
Right.
you can't change anything. Because, by changing yourself or by growing within yourself, you are inspiring those people around you to do the same. And I mean, really, you're
the
walking,
light.
exactly, be that light. I mean, you're walking your talk, really. I mean, you don't really go around preaching anything. Casey just is. And you just do what you do, and you lead by example, right? And then everybody sort of jumps in and follows also, because they see it, they understand it. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate you for that. Yeah, really. And, and that's what we all need to do, honestly, and we need to take our own power back. And that's what it all comes down to, and that comes down to you just totally going within yourself. You don't have to start big, just start small, just go within yourself and really just take stock of things. Be honest with yourself. I mean, vulnerability is your greatest strength. It really, really is. All these days of, of us not showing our feelings and all of that, that's just not us really being honest with ourselves, ultimately. So really, it's taking that power back and putting all your cards on the table. I mean, who gives a shit? Really?
And seizing the moment, seizing the opportunity that life presents every day as an opportunity for change for the better and creating the things in the abundance that you want in your life.
Exactly. I mean, the biggest lesson that I have and the biggest thing that I've learnt on my journey is that, I mean, my life was very linear. I always had a goal that I would go for and achieve, and that's how I thought things were, But as I started to go through life and decided to take my power back, I started living in this point of presence where I'm excited to just be. Because ultimately, we're human beings. We're not human doings, but we're always trying to do something or go somewhere else or reach for something outside of ourselves, right? So ultimately, that's what it totally comes down to. So, I live now in my life in this constant state of excitement.
Instead of in the past.
Right.
Or wondering what the
about
future.
Because really, you can't control either of them. I mean, your present moment really is the only thing that can write the past.
It's
right?
a present.
Exactly.
It's a gift.
Yeah, so really, I mean, that's the most important thing is presence, Yes, and I understand it's easier said than done. But really, it just comes down to just being content with where you're at, who you are, and being alive. Really, this is it. This
The
is
blessings that are there.
Yeah. It's always happening all the time. So yeah, thank you. This is the Being Human experience. Thank you to Casey for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You're welcome.
And we'll see you soon.